Then he slowly moves to Franz Fanon and his take on violence, and how Fanon talks about the three different kinds of violences: the military, the cultural, and the existential violences which are inflicted upon the colonies by the colonizer, by which the freedom is completely taken away. And also how modern colonial history is not identical in any sense. For example, the history of Caribbean is different from Indian, which is yet again different from African. And for that sole reason, poets who write from these nationalities, they do not hold a singular identity. Other than that, they all belong to the colonized countries, but their differences in the colonizing, or the ways of colonization, reflect in the post-colonial, in their post-colonial writings too, or in their poems too. So post-colonial poets try to answer this particular question, which is always put across to people who belong in between, or in a liminal space. The question is, who am I? And they try to answer the question by talking about who they were once upon a time. And Fanon again points out that when we talk about who we were, we are not supposed to fetishize it. We are not supposed to be nostalgic about it. So, but even then, we have post-colonial poets, celebrating their glorious past, which was distorted by the colonizers. Let me read from Ramazani a bit about how he tries to exemplify the poets trying to write about their glorious past. The Nigerian Christopher Ukigbo builds poems around the pre-colonial Igbo river goddess Itoto, as does Soinka around the Yoruba god Ogun. Okotba Bitek animates the pages of songs of Loino with the preliterate wisdom and traditions of Acholi. In the Caribbean, the lesser availability of the ancestral past often spurs a still more intensive quest for its recovery. Benet explains, emphasizes the African province of Jamaican words like Nana, Twi for grandparent, and Gungu, Congo for pay, and pea, and even Walcott, those species of the longing for ancestral return, makes it the centerpiece of Omeros. A sunstruck hero Achille believes he travels back to his forebears in Africa, and Mark Kilman listens intently for natural signs of African gods that may have survived the Middle Passage. So this is how the poets try to talk about the question who they are, by resorting to images from the past, by resorting to myths of the past, and which they still continue believing in today, by trying to talk about words of themselves, words of their own nationality, of their own region, etc. And there is this particular eternal search by the post-colonial poets for the pre-colonial past. And returning home is a central theme for many of the post-colonial poets, who basically live a diasporic life sometimes too. And let me read again from Ramazani. There he talks about how many of the African poets were imprisoned without any kind of, even without a trial at all. And fearing for their lives, African poets have often had to leave home. Another Malawian, Frank Chipesula, has lived abroad during the long dictatorship of Hastings Banda. Okot spent the years of Idi Amin's brutal rule in exile, and Soinka secretly left Nigeria when General Sani Abaka's regime confiscated his passport. Other poets have stayed at home and died. Christopher Ukigbo was killed in his mid-30s while fighting on the Biafran side of the Nigerian Civil War, the first of many civil wars to tear apart post-independence Africa. So this political homelessness and also a yearning to return to home, a yearning for home, a need for home, etc., is actually something which repeatedly comes in post-colonial poetry, especially in African poetry. Now, Ramazani also quotes Aga Shahid Ali's a postcard from Kashmir to say how post-colonial poets fear that if at all once they return home, they would not really find their motherland there. So this fear of loss of their homes or loss of motherland is actually something which lies as a motive for many of the post-colonial poetry. Now, the divided identities always, haunt them. And again, Ramzani quotes Grace Nichols' poem, Wherever I Hang. This is how the poem goes. To tell you the truth, I don't really know where I belong. Yes, divided to the ocean, divided to the bone. Wherever I hang me knickers, that's my home. So basically, it's wherever you are that finally becomes your home. But there is always a sense of displacement in you. There is always this feeling of being housed in homelessness, being homed in houselessness. That is something which always drives many of the post-colonial poets and their poems. And again, let me read from Ramazani. At once skeptical and recuperative, ironic and nostalgic, post-colonial poets recollect the pre-colonial past as a powerful locus for identity, yet self-consciously probe the multiplicity and constructedness of the home they dislocate in the moment of re-inhabiting it. So the moment you feel that you have reached home, you find yourself dislocated because that is not really the home which you had imagined or which you had left once upon a time. So with this, I just would like to stop and the rest of the essay will definitely continue in the next video. Thank you.